The DuckPond gem is a Ruby gem to make duck typing a little bit more explicit than it already is. You install it on your system in the usual way, gem install DuckPond, or if you're using bundler, just whack it in your gem file and then bundle install. So that's installed. So I suppose I'll assume that you know what duck typing is, but in case you don't, duck typing, you'll hear Rubyists talking about duck typing a lot. Ruby did not invent duck typing. Duck typing has been around for a while. Essentially, it's when you design a method around a contract or an interface where you interrogate the traits of the object rather than the type of the object. So the term duck typing comes out of the phrase if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, then it must be a duck, essentially meaning if it responds to that method and it responds to that method and it has one of these, then it must be a duck, and you continue. And the thing about duck typing with Ruby, you'll often hear Rubyists talking about how awesome duck typing is, but the reality is there isn't really an alternative to duck typing because Ruby is not a strongly typed language. So other languages have interfaces where you define the interface and that contract is then defined, whereas Ruby, you kind of rely upon the omnipotence of the developer to read through all of your code. Anyway, the easiest way to explain DuckPond is probably to show you a demonstration, so I'm just going to whack up a quick test here. Test duckpond.rb. Okay, so we're going to use mini test because it's quick and easy. Mini tests, so we just need to include auto run, and I'm going to also require mini test pride because that'll make our tests nice and colourful. Okay, so we'll do a really quick little example, a really simple example. We're going to create a test for a class called foo, and basically this is going to be, I'm just going to do a really quick test, it works. This is going to be a class where it's going to we're going to just give it one class method called bar, and that's going to take things, in this case a string, pardon me, and it's going to basically return true if the thing it passed in responds to the length method and the result of that length method is 5. So hello would pass, it's 5 letters in it, goodbye would fail. Okay, so I'm just going to pop out of here and just run the tests, which is going to fail, obviously. That's what I call the file. Syntax error. Okay, what have I done wrong? La-di-da-di-da. Stray square bracket. So, here we go. Failed. Doesn't know what foo is. That's fine. That's what we expected. So let's write foo so the tests pass. So, simple class foo. Exactly as we said. We're just going to make a single method called bar, which takes an argument, which we will just call obj. And we'll do exactly what we said, which is if obj.respond to length and obj.length is 5, return true, otherwise return false. Okay, and that's it. So the test should now pass. They do. But there's a problem with what we've written, and this is kind of the crux of what DuckPond is trying to solve. This line right here, it has knowledge about the argument that's been passed in, this here obj. Now, if this knowledge was required across several methods within this class, you would either find yourself repeating the same logic over and over again, or you would find yourself writing a method like isValid, and then passing obj into there and maybe putting the logic in there. But then what if that same logic is used across your entire application, and you find yourself making methods like that in each class, at which point you'd probably decide to abstract that knowledge out into a class of its own. And basically DuckPond is just attempting to standardize the way that that's done, the standardize the way that we establish these, what I guess we'll refer to as contracts, out into their own class, and just that's basically it. So we've got a set of passing tests here, so I'm just going to create a DuckPond contract to take over the logic. So require it, or I mean, if you're using Rails, just whack it in gem file, you'll be able to use the contract class. We'll basically create a contract like this, inheriting from DuckPond contract. And once you are in, essentially a contract consists of a number of clauses. Has method is one of the types of clause. It's really easy to make your own, but this is one of the ones it ships with. A method clause, where you pass in basically just the name of the method, in our case length, and optionally arguments, in our case responds with 5. So basically that there is now a contract. It expects anything to meet the contract must have a method called length, and that method must respond with 5, which means we can come down here and actually replace this line in foo with a reference to that contract. So if my contract fulfills obj, and that should be it. Come back out of there, run our tests, and they still pass. So we've essentially taken that logic, that knowledge, out into its own contract. Other features of DuckPond, let's say this method required arguments to be passed in. You can pass them in with the given args option, where you pass an array like that, and then that would be 3 arguments, 1, 2 and 3 being passed to length, which obviously that would fall over, but you get the idea. You don't actually have to specify that it responds with anything. It just has method length. We'll literally just check that the class responds to length, and it won't try calling it. You'll only call it if you start expecting it to respond with something. The last thing obviously is the if you really want to get down and dirty with the actual results from a method call, you can pass a block to has method, and then result becomes the return value of that method. So you can just mess around with it. In this case, we just want to check that it is 5 as we were before, and the test still passed. So I suppose the only other feature at the moment worth mentioning is that you can actually combine contracts together. So imagine you had like 7 or 8 different contracts, and like 2 of them you want to combine into one contract. Well, you can just do include clauses from, let's say it's called my other contract, and then this contract will just get all those clauses from that other contract. Okay, well that's basically it. That's basically what DuckPond does. I'm not entirely sure it's a good idea at the moment, but development's going to continue, so keep an eye on the GitHub page and the repo. Some new features will be coming over the next few weeks. Cheers.